Today we'll be talking about the essential tips for drying and curing your cannabis to ensure you get the best quality from your harvest. You worked hard on that. But before we do, today's video is brought to you by RealDGC.com. If you want to connect with our private community of premium growers, get grow tips from some of the best growers around the world, and get access to exclusive Dude Grow Show content, membership is free, and you can become a DGC producer if you want to help support the value that we bring you here. Head on over to RealDGC.com and get signed up today. All right, back to the show. Scotty, let's get into this. I know there's a lot of coverage, but we can't, help people enough. This is an important part. You've gotten to the end. Don't screw it up.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that hard as long as you realize that it is a really important part. There's nothing worse than, well, there are a couple things worse, but having a beautiful harvest and going to hang them up, and if they dry too fast, you're going to smoke it. It tastes like hay.
I see right here, first point, the importance of proper drying. Slow and steady, baby. 10 days to 2 weeks. It still might be okay, but we want it to be the best. So if you can have your plant hanging after you cut it down for 10 days to 2 weeks.
Hang on.
Nice long dirty. Go ahead.
It's completely dependent on temperature and humidity. That's really what you're trying to do. I'm in Colorado here where it's 15% humidity, so I can hang them all day long in my tent. It's going to be 3 days are going to be crispy dry, or 4 days are going to be crispy dry. So keeping them at an ideal temperature and humidity is where it's got to start. I like to do the 60-60.
It's so easy to remember.
Yeah.
You can vary a few points. Hey, if you're at 57 and 62, don't freak out. Trying to hit right around the 60 temperature humidity. And that's important, guys. Sometimes you're going to have to use a little bit of a dehumidifier. Sometimes typically you're not having to add humidity, especially getting a grow tent dedicated for this job.
You do have to have air movement and a little bit of fan not blowing on the buds, but blowing below and just moving that air around. It is important.
Yeah, the slightest, guys. Like Scotty said, you don't want to see your buds swaying around. I run a floor fan or two in my drying area, and it's just a gentle stir, just a real gentle stir. And getting a grow tent is really affordable to dedicate to this job. If you don't, and you're having to do this in your grow space, then you're taking away time from firing up your next grow, So keep that grow space going, those lights running, and get a dedicated drying space.
Yeah, it's not that expensive, man. It's a few $100. And think about it. It takes 2 weeks to dry, or if it takes you 2 weeks to dry, if you're doing it right, man, that is what? A quarter. All right, I'm doing math here, man. It's a quarter of a flowering cycle, man. For a couple $100, man, get yourself a tent. Shout out to AC Infinity, has a temperature and humidity controller already built in. Here's your drying tent.
Some people say that, how do we know when it's dry? Well, the stem will snap. The stem, the diameter of a pencil will snap. I don't like that. How do you tell when a plant, hey, I know this is dry, ready to cure?
I look here for when it's close. I will bend the stem, and then I want to smoke a joint out of it. I'm not very scientific, but I will roll a joint, and I will see. I'll be like, oh man, that's close. But man, that's where we can get into curing as well. Yeah. Because curing is kind of putting the finishing touches on it. You dry to get rid of most of the moisture, and then curing, you're keeping a little bit, enough moisture to keep life going on, or really to keep metabolic activity going on, so that chlorophyll continues to break down, and you're slowly releasing it.
When you're curing, you're letting the stank sit in its own stank. It's in stank here. Your time could be up to a month. It's totally okay to smoke during this time, enjoy your cannabis. Scotty said the purpose of burping, that's when, hey, once or twice a day, you want to be checking on that. Make sure, if you're putting cannabis in the jar to be cured, leave a good amount of headroom. Don't pack it in there tight. You want maybe even a little movement. Throw something in, which is like kind of a helpful insurance policy, like an Integra humidity pack. That will, if you're not around to burp the jar one time and the humidity goes up in there, the humidity pack will take it out. If it's too dry, it will add some. So shout out, those are good humidity packs to help you out. And just keep on it. The worst thing you can do with curing is take your freshly dried bud, let it sit in a jar, for days or weeks without checking on it.
And by the way, people are going to yell at me because I'm curing in a plastic bucket. So start yelling now. But it can be as simple. Sometimes you have a bunch of weed. Bucketfuls of weed sometimes. I'll put it in here right when it's barely able. You like black ash joint wants to go out, but it will light. That's when I put it in here. And then I just start burping it. And conveniently, I'll just open it, grab a couple buds out of it, close it. And that's burping, but it does get better with time. So other than the plastic off-gassing, people are yelling at their phone right now. No, but anyway, that's what curing is. It's slowly releasing the moisture and keeping that metabolic activity going in the bud.
There are specific containers you guys can get out there. There are some bags on the market that it's like a Ziploc style, but they're more for cannabis growers where they don't have any of that plastic smell, any type of, be careful for sure if you're getting a new plastic container to let it breathe out or it doesn't have any of that funk.
I will tell you, I do keep a pack in here, and this thing is so loaded with water right now. It's crazy, man. So they do help a lot.
All right, number one things to avoid: don't dry too quick, man. Quicker than 7 days, you're losing a bit of flavor and whatnot. Figure out ways that you can make that go longer. One way is people will leave a lot of the leaves on the plant. That enables the plant to hang longer and take longer to dry. It just depends on what your environment is. When you're curing, don't leave it in the jar without checking on it, man. I myself have ran into a situation of mold like that and lost a quarter pound. I had to go out of town. I was like, it's good. No, it wasn't good.
Hey, that does remind me. I do like to keep big branches, keep some leaves on there just to keep as much, we're in Colorado, so it's really dry, as much moisture as I can get. So the stem has moisture. Some of the leaves have moisture. So I try to leave as big of branches as possible to slow down the drying process as much as possible because I'm in one of the driest places in the world. At least in the country, all right?
Hey, but that's our take on it, guys. How have you guys dried and cured your cannabis? What tips have worked for you in the past? Leave us a comment and share your thoughts. We'd love to check them out.
And if you like this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, share it with another grower you know, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommended.